There we go. Sorry, everybody. Okay, that's better. So I've got Mike now, and we are ready to go. So B. Tabalba is here. David Young is here. Rafael Toro, VIP, is here from Massachusetts. Michael D. is from Ireland. And who else we got? Yep, I had my mic muted because I was just playing something back. So here's the game plan tonight, folks. We are going to be live once again on the Amazon homepage. And I've got a bunch of people to say hello to. Michael D., Anthony Stewart, Secret Agent Steve is here. Brendan Gallagher is here from my home state of Connecticut. DJ CM from Houston. It's like a roll call. Everybody's signing in. We're taking attendance. Tristan Leonard is here. Spuds is here, one of our YouTube members. Jeff is here from Michigan, and Tristan is here. Hello. I said hello to you twice, but that's okay. Hellos are free, so welcome everybody. Yeah, so here's the game plan for tonight, everybody. We are going to be doing another video that I'm recording for my series on these low-cost Ryzen laptops. I've shot 2 reviews already and have edited them. They're ready to go. And I'll probably upload the first or publish the first one tomorrow. And what we're going to be doing today is setting a baseline for some different types of things that we haven't typically covered in my reviews. So we're going to be looking at video editing. We're going to be looking at Photoshop, OBS, Dolphin, and the PS2 emulator as well. The PCSX2, I believe, is that one. So just to kind of go through a couple different things that we can figure out to see what this platform can do. And unlike previous nights, I've actually prepared for this evening. So most of this stuff I've already tested, so we should know what goes on. And what we'll be doing throughout the course of the stream is I'm going to be recording as I go here. So you might see me like start over a few times. Yes, I know I'm live, so I didn't hit the button by accident. But what I like to do is try to make efficient use of time. So if I'm able to record a video while I'm streaming, all the better. So that is what we're going to do tonight. And I'm actually just kind of stretching out some time here because we are going to be on the front page of Amazon at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So that is what I'm waiting on at the moment for the 8 o'clock hour to roll around. And I'm just going to adjust the exposure on my camera here. The one thing about my camera is that it doesn't do well with dynamic range issues. So it looks like it's a little better here. So there we go. We got some other folks who've joined us. Flood of Sins, Eric Bazinga, some of the regulars. Darth Vader is here from Palestine. We have COTA from Seoul. And R35X is here. Spud says, prepared? That's no fun. Well, I'm sure something will go wrong. And then I'm sure you'll have some things to ask me about or suggest that I do. Oh, that's right. The State of the Union is tonight. So we're going to be missing that. Hopefully, maybe you can put me up on next to him or whatever. Well, he's at what, at 9? Is that when the State of the Union is? So I might be done. We might be done right around the time the State of the Union starts, unless it starts at 8. What else do we got here? So B. Tababa was asking about the HP. Well, you know what? I was planning on getting the HP, and then I looked again after like just looking at all the listings again on Amazon. And as it turns out, that was a Ryzen 3, and all these other ones are Ryzen 5s. So I got a Dell instead of the HP, which was a Ryzen 5 at around the sub $400 price point. Nicholas Cheney is wondering if it's good enough for Photoshop. We're going to find out just a few minutes, actually. So stay tuned. Spoiler alert, it is. It's capable. So it's good stuff there. Let's see here. Rafael Toro says, I was looking for a Dell all-in-one with a Ryzen 7 processor. Yeah, I should probably try to get a Ryzen 7 in and see what those do. Vinny T, thank you for your super chat contribution. Much appreciated. He's looking forward to seeing some Ryzen laptops. Yeah, I've got 2 reviews shot already, and we're going to have one more I got to shoot tomorrow with the Dell. And I have all the B-roll done on that one already, so that one should hopefully go pretty smoothly. And then my wife is taken off for a few days, so I've got the kids. So I'm going to be totally booked like Thursday and Friday, mostly Friday actually. So like Friday, Monday, and Tuesday are going to be a little crazy. And the weekend, of course. So I'm trying to get a lot of stuff like front-loaded here on the week. So I can take time, because it's just, you know, what it is like the interruptions are really tough, because I have to have like 2 or 3 hours to really sit down and shoot a video. Stephen Hertz wants to know, will these Ryzens transcode Plex? No, they are not Plex transcoding compatible, because the Plex transcoder only works with the Intel QuickSync stuff, and this does not have anything that Plex can transcode with. So these are not good for that. And I'll maybe make mention of that at the end, because that is something that people should know. Because we're going to start seeing a bunch of mini PCs running with these Ryzens also, and I think people need to be aware of that. Oh, Eric Bazinga wanted me to, yeah, so, sorry, it's just been crazy busy. So it would be kind of fun at some point to revisit the Quest and look at doing some bridge crew thing. That would be kind of fun. I do want to do that, it's just I've been crazy busy. But we should look at doing that and maybe in one of these upcoming live streams. Tomorrow, by the way, we're going to have another live stream at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, and we'll be looking at the new NVIDIA GeForce Now streaming service. So that's tomorrow's stream, and that'll also make its way into a different video. Jason Jones wants to know if Philips computer monitor is any good. I was going to buy 2. I have not used their monitors, although I think they're a decent company. I'm not sure I can get Philips monitors here in the US. Nick Cheney is here from Northern Connecticut. Welcome. Lots of Connecticut folks here tonight, including myself. Secret Agent Steve wants to know if I saved my live streams. Yes, the live streams are saved on the channel. They're unlisted, but if you go to Lon.TV/livestreams, you'll see the whole archive. There's tens of hours of stuff there. Clean937 Samuel left another super chat. Thank you very much. I think you left one last time too, so thank you for your contribution. Much appreciated. And let's see what else we got here. Jason Jones says he's interested more in mini PCs versus laptops. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I got one in from the Leva folks, but that one apparently, I said it was bare bones, but it's like super bare bones with no processor. So we have to get a processor for that. Spuds is referring to some old movies with Terry Garr and Michael Keaton, Mr. Mom. Yeah, that's going to be me on Thursday night. Wait right through. So luckily it's only like 3 days of school I got to get them ready for, so it should be okay. Eric Bazinga says, you know what we should do is maybe Eric, you know what we should do is try to organize that on the Facebook group. Why don't we try that? Because I did try making a subreddit a few years ago. That didn't go over very well, and I might do Discord at some point, but it's just I got so much stuff to check on. So the Facebook group seems to be the only thing that I've tried in that area that actually has worked. So maybe if you might post it over there. That might be a good place to start. Tristan Leonard is wiping a PC tonight to install Linux. So I'm just going to get this laptop up on screen because we are about to go live on the Amazon homepage. And I want to make sure that visitors to Amazon.com will see a laptop and not my face to understand what the heck is going on and why their homepage has been taken over by this ugly guy here. Let's see if it's up there yet. And once it's up, we will start testing stuff. Now, I already shot my intro. I'm so prepared tonight. So we're just going to get right into stuff here so you won't see me fumbling over 12 takes of an intro. We actually got it all ready to go. And it's going to be fun. So we're going to start off, I think, with Adobe Premiere. And the one thing that I am not very proficient with is Adobe Premiere because I don't use it. I use Final Cut Pro. So hopefully here, yeah, it looks like we're up and running here. So we are good to go. So I use Final Cut Pro. And Jake, who helps me here on the channel, has a Creative Cloud subscription. So he was kind enough to let me install Adobe Premiere on here. So why don't we start off with that. And I might start recording and just show Premiere loading. So let me go over to my start menu here and we'll kick it off. And if you're just tuning in on Amazon, you can leave a chat there and I'll try to answer those as we go in addition to the folks watching on YouTube. And if you're curious as to what machine we're looking at here, if you go to the link in the description, that will bring you to the Amazon live stream and you should be able to watch it over there and get all the products as I'm talking about them. They'll have a, they'll have a thing on the bottom there that you can click on. So that is how that works. So let us go and take a look. And actually, Sata X in the, I got a couple of questions here on the YouTube chat. Stephen Hertz says, will this Ryzen laptop output 4K gaming or video through its HDMI port? I believe it will go to 4K. I think it's going to vary on the laptop. So some of these will have a 30 frames per second output. Others will do 60, depending on which HDMI standard they're following. I would guess, and I haven't tested all these yet, but my guess would be probably 4K 30. But they're not going to be able to give you anything playable at 4K from a gaming perspective. They're going to be super slow for that, but there will be some things that work. Sata X wants to know, is an MX250 better or one of these Radeons? Well, as you'll see here, let's load up Adobe Premiere, and let me just start recording real quick so I can get that going. I think if you can afford a laptop with the GPU, you should go in that direction, because you will get better performance with a discrete GPU every time. But these are really good for what they are, and that's part of what has really attracted me to these, because this machine right now is $375. And if you'll see it in the reviews coming up this week, you can run GTA 5, 1080p, low settings at like 30 to 35 frames per second. You can do a lot with these things. In fact, let me just show you before we get really cooking here. I will actually pull up this very laptop running. Seeing here, I'm going to start recording. You're going to hear my voice. Let me just kill the. Let me stop. We're getting about. Seeing here. Let me pull up. Let me kill the audio on it real quick here. So you're going to see right now GTA 5 running on this very laptop. And this is the one we've got out right now. This is from a couple of days ago on our last stream. But as you can see here, low settings, 1080p, you're getting about 38, 40 frames per second on a $375 laptop. That's pretty remarkable. So it's really, really cool. This is the IdeaPad 330S, and if you go to the link in the video description, if you're watching on YouTube, that will take you right over to the Amazon page where you can find it. So it's a really good deal. And what prompted me to do these videos was the fact that there are dozens of these things that just popped up on Amazon recently. So a lot of them are being sold through third-party sellers, but I got this one. The link you'll find there will take you right to it, and it's a really good deal. Again, you got to keep your expectations appropriately in check, but I think if you're coming in with the expectations that you would be getting $375 worth of computer, I think you'll be getting probably $500 worth of computer, maybe $600. So it's pretty good. So that's something to keep in mind on all of this. Justin wants to know, can it run Crysis? It probably could. So definitely take a look. Hakura-san is here. Welcome back. All right, let me just start recording here real quick. I'm going to pull up. So I have a screen mirror going here at the same time. So we'll kind of jump back and forth. 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's load up Adobe Premiere first and see how this does with video editing. Now I am running the project off of an external solid-state drive just because our storage at the moment on this computer is limited. But as you'll see in the full review, you can actually upgrade these things fairly easily, especially compared against other more expensive devices. Now, I am not a Premiere person. I use Final Cut Pro, so I am not as proficient at Premiere as perhaps some other folks on YouTube and other video platforms might be. But my friend Jake, who helps me here on the channel, did set me up with a project here with some overlays and things just to see how things work. Now, I'm purposely not rendering any of this project so we can get a feel for how it will work with just raw video going in. We did load in 4K 60 frames per second video here, and we'll play it back and see how it does. As you can see, it's stuttering a little bit with no rendering here. It's trying to render in real time. But you know what? It's pretty usable. We've got some transitions that we baked in here as well, and you can see how those are working there. So you may not get perfect frame playback, but I think if you're looking to do some editing on here, I think it's going to work out just fine for you, especially once you render out some of those proxy files. That will certainly speed up everything quite a bit. But this is all 4K 60 video that came off of my iPhone, and I'm able to drop it in here and do some pretty basic editing. As you'll see here, we're getting a warning right now. I think he was doing something else with this thing here. So it's doing some frame analysis. So you'll run into some issues where it will slow down a bit. Certainly this one only has 8 gigabytes of RAM, so you're not going to get perhaps what you would typically see with something running with 16 or 32. But for basic video editing, the kind of editing I do, I think this will be more than adequate. Now, the other thing to think about is when you're going to export your projects. And one of the good things about this is that the Adobe video exporting application will use the AMD hardware to accelerate the process. Let's take a look and see how long this project takes to export. All right, so I think that worked out okay. I'm really not very proficient on Premiere because I just don't use it day to day. And one of the things that I really like about Final Cut Pro is that it doesn't have a lot of the things that people who use Premiere get annoyed with. So I found Final Cut to really take a lot of the stuff you have to think about off of my plate, which has been very good, although some folks really prefer Premiere, and it's up to you as to what works best for you. Some questions coming in about battery life. The battery life on these is not very good. You get about 5 or 6 hours when you're just browsing the web, so they're not good for that. It does have, though, only 1 slot of RAM to answer Lewis's question. Some of these have 2. This one has 1 slot, but here's the catch on this, is that half the RAM is soldered on the board. The other half you can put in a module. But here's the thing. If you wanted to go beyond... Oh, hang on a second. Somebody's flushing something. If you want to go beyond your 8 gigabytes, what happens here is that you will then be out of a pair. So typically with dual channel memory, which these AMD chips really want, you want matching pairs of RAM. And if you got 4 gigs soldered on the motherboard, then you want 4 gigs inside that slot. And if you put 8 gigs in that slot, you get 12 gigs of RAM, but you'll lose performance because I don't think it'll work in dual channel mode after that. So there's always these gives and takes that you have to think about. So I think for most of these laptops, 8 gigabytes is probably the target. I think, if I remember correctly, I got to check my notes, the Dell that I'm going to be reviewing tomorrow, that one does have 2 slots in it. So that one you could probably get, I think, to 16. So there are some out there that you can do upgrades with. The Acer Slim that we reviewed a few weeks ago, that one's got 2 slots as well. And I'm going to try to get in their new thing soon and see how that goes. All right, so I'm going to try to just remember how to export media here. So we'll go to export media, and I think what I want to do is toss this over to the Adobe export thing, so I can queue it here. And I think that, yeah, so that adds it to the okay. So, and I think what I want to do for export here, let me show you what I'm looking at, is let's take a look. Mark was wondering for, and my friend Mark here, who makes great custom jigsaw puzzles, he's been trying to get into some more live streaming, and he's wondering if it can drive 3 live cameras. So right now I'm prepared for 2, but maybe we can try to get a 3rd one dialed in and see what happens with it. Let's see here. All right, so we have exporting audio and video, and I think we're going right now to not the format I want. So I'm going to export to H.264, and we'll do, oh yeah, I'll just do like a 1080p. This might be a good test here just to see if, if we can get this out to a target that you might upload to YouTube under. So, all right, so maybe we'll pick it up from here and see where it goes. Now here's the thing, because Lewis is asking about pricing on these things and why they're so inexpensive. And now there's going to be a new low-cost Ryzen processor coming out. And my gut on why we're seeing so many of these things is that the market has kind of opened up on these because I'm guessing AMD is trying to clear out inventory. And so these manufacturers all got a super deal on it and just pumped out laptops that they can sell, through the secondary markets and stuff. So I think that's what we're seeing. So I think the new Ryzen chips will probably be more expensive initially and we'll see where where AMD wants to position themselves, because it's hard to make money selling $375 laptops that are as useful as this one is. So I don't know how much of that we're going to see. All right, so let's see if I know how to do this now. You know what? Yeah, I think that the video thing worked fine. You know what I'm going to do real quick, folks, if you don't mind? I'm just going to play back what we just shot, because I'm just curious to see how that came out. So let me start that, and then we'll pick it up. I just want to make sure this demo is adequate enough to get the point across. And I would love to hear from all of you watching what you think, too. 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's load up Adobe Premiere first and see how this does with video editing. Now, I am running the project off of an external solid-state drive just because our storage at the moment on this computer is limited. But as you'll see in the full review, you can actually upgrade these things fairly easily, especially compared against other more expensive devices. Now, I am not a Premiere person. I use Final Cut Pro, so I am not as proficient at Premiere as perhaps some other folks on YouTube and other video platforms might be. But my friend Jake, who helps me here on the channel, did set me up with a project here with some overlays and things just to see how things work. Now, I'm purposely not rendering any of this project so we can get a feel for how it will work with just raw video going in. We did load in 4K 60 frames per second video here, and we'll play it back and see how it does. As you can see, it's stuttering a little bit with no rendering here. It's trying to render in real time. But you know what? It's pretty usable. We've got some transitions that we baked in here as well, and you can see how those are working there. So you may not get perfect frame playback, but I think if you're looking to do some editing on here, I think it's going to work out just fine for you, especially once you render out some of those proxy files. That will certainly speed up everything quite a bit. But this is all 4K 60 video that came off of my iPhone, and I'm able to drop it in here and do some pretty basic editing. As you'll see here, we're getting a warning right now. I think he was doing something else with this thing here. So it's doing some frame analysis. So you'll run into some issues where it will slow down a bit. Certainly this one only has 8 gigabytes of RAM, so you're not going to get perhaps what you would typically see with something running with 16 or 32. But for basic video editing, the kind of editing I do, I think this will be more than adequate. Now, the other thing to think about is when you're going to export your projects. And one of the good things about this is that the Adobe video exporting application will use the AMD hardware to accelerate the process. Let's take a look and see how long this project takes to export. All right. I think, oops, unmute. I think that works. We're not going to go into like an in-depth Premiere lesson today. You know what I want to do is see what happens when we run this, because I think I'm going to want to make sure that I have the encoder set to take advantage of the hardware acceleration. So like the Intel chips, the AMD chips have hardware acceleration for video, but it's a different type. So things like Plex that make use of hardware transcoding will not work with AMD. So you won't run a Plex server on this if you intend to do, so it looks like we have the playback engine GPU acceleration through OpenCL. And I don't think I have to do anything else to enable that. And if I am incorrect, I'm sure somebody in the chat here knows better, so let me know. Hopefully the stream is working okay for everybody, because I'm getting my orange warning. So perhaps the kids in the neighborhood are streaming a little bit too much here, so let me know if we have any issues. All right, so I'm going to leave that running in the background here. We're going to pick it up over here, and we'll see how long it takes. And I think all I have to do is just put it in queue and then start it. So this might be a little bit of fumbling, but we'll see how we do. 3, 2. So Lewis says, for $375, the only letdown would be soldered RAM. What do you think? Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, and like I said, you could probably find one of these that doesn't have the soldered RAM. So the Acer that I looked at, the Acer Slim, that's got 2 sticks. So that one would be a little bit more flexible than this one. But this one and the Asus we're looking at this week, both are configured with 1 stick soldered, the other one accessible. The Dell over there is got 2 sticks, but it doesn't perform quite as well. It seems like it's doing okay, but that one looks a little bit more commoditized. So this one and the Asus feel nice. They feel like there's some modern PC to them. The Dell feels very much like a more commoditized device, but it has a touch screen, which this one lacks. So like, what's funny is like each of these has something that the others don't have. So it's pretty crazy. Okay. And Luca is here from Italy. Welcome. And my friend Mark there, who does the custom jigsaw puzzles, is right up the road. So he should come over one night. We should go to him. It might be kind of fun. He does some awesome puzzles with a jigsaw. If you haven't checked him out, his channel's right there. And I don't know how he doesn't cut himself, because his fingers get so close to the jigsaw as he's making those puzzles. It makes me nervous. All right, so let me hit the record button here. Oh no! See, that's the other thing. Well, that's pretty okay. So that's all right. So it's going. It's probably actually good that I did this, because I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. So I think I hit play. Yeah, start queue. So let's just do this real quick and see how long it takes. And I'm just going to have it run it to the C drive, so we're running off one drive to the other. The trackpad is super sensitive. I haven't turned off the tap to click, so that's why that's doing that. But let's see how long that takes. So what it's doing right now is going from 4K to 1080p. The total runtime is 40 seconds. And it's going to take about 7 minutes. So that export time might be a little bit longer than a more powerful laptop. And this is just a one-pass export here. But you know what? It might speed up after it gets through that title. So let's see what happens after the title's run. And I can hear the fan going on it now, too. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Let's just see how long it takes, because it might be a good way to judge it. Scott's wondering, are the fans ramping up? Yeah, the fan's coming up. But you know what's been interesting about all of these 15-inch laptops is that the fans are not that loud. And I think part of it is due to the fact that it's a larger case, so it's able to work with a larger fan. By the way, that is the creepiest Rudolph. Like, my daughter was totally freaked out by him. See, she wasn't like terrified, but she was just trying to hide from him so that he might just walk away. That's my 3-year-old. She's a piece of work. But the fans really are not noisy on this thing. They're super quiet. And we'll let this kind of run out here and see how long it takes. Not seeing any chats on Amazon yet, so hopefully some folks are tuning in. And we'll just kind of let this run out. So I think it's going from 4K 60 to 1080p 60. And it is kind of like watching paint dry. So we've got a 40-second file. And we'll hopefully get an idea as to the elapsed time. I think I should probably record this and just have that. We can just do this as a voiceover. And then I'll have a record of when it stopped. And I can do like a little speed up thing here to... So Scott wants to know, what direction is the heat venting out? So that is a good question. I think it's coming out. It's coming out from the, and I'll switch back to the other camera in a second here once this is done. I want to get a good clean recording of that bar moving. It's coming out from the hinge, kind of in the middle. So Johnny Turbo here picked up the Lenovo Flex 14 with the 3700U in November of last year. He upgraded it with 32 gigs of RAM. He's yet to test any video editing, but intends to throw some 4K GoPro footage at it. Yeah, I think you'll do okay. You know, the Intel chips in particular, and actually both AMD and Intel, the modern chips are so good at video editing. It's pretty remarkable, actually, what they're doing with them. So I'm super impressed with these things. It just... it's amazing, especially when we get to OBS. You know what you can do with real-time video processing on a free piece of software. It's just remarkable that you can do any of this stuff. I have a TriCaster that I bought in 2014 that I paid $6,000 for, which is what I used to do the show, and you know, it was a lot of money, but it was kind of it was like the only game in town for something that I could turn on and know would work. But I think now you can replicate a lot of that that TriCaster experience with something like this. Oh, it looks like he was doing a transition there, so, or some kind of crazy thing here. Let's see what happens. So that's taken a little bit longer. So I should probably figure out exactly what he applied to that clip, just so we can talk about that. But we're looking about 4 or 5 minutes. And I guess we'll find out what he put in there when when it finishes the transcode here. So let that finish up running here. It's kind of like watching paint dry, but I want to let it run through the whole thing here. Almost there. Got another minute to go. Johnny Turbo says he's impressed with Ryzen so far. It's a huge step forward. Still haven't gotten used to fan noise after using a fanless laptop for several years. And that's, you know, that's a good point, because one of the things that I struggle with is how do we talk about fan noise? Now, I once got one of those microphones that you could measure the fan noise with, and it was so hard to try to figure out, like, what's the fan noise versus what's just the noise in the room. And then if you didn't have the same noise level in the room all the time, you know, you wouldn't have a valid test over time and everything. So I've decided to just look at it from the standpoint of is it loud or not? And this fan is not loud, but some are quite loud. And you know, it's just a matter of what you're dealing with. And I think what you'll find on the smaller laptops is you got these tiny little fans that have to move faster, and those things just make a ton of noise, versus the ones like this that can move slower because they're larger and can move more air. But I can't believe how super quiet this one is. And then you got like my Alienware gaming laptop. That thing is like a wind tunnel. It is going. So it looks like about 6 minutes to export. So it's not going to be super fast on the export. And this is kind of consistent with my experience with some of these other machines I've tested too. It just, you know, you can edit stuff pretty quickly, but the export's going to take a little while. And I think Premiere exporting is slow to begin with, so you've got that to deal with. And I'm glad I wrote down the time because, all right, so let's stop that real quick. I'm just going to do output B-roll. I'm actually curious to see what he did on that last clip there. 11002 export B-roll. Okay, so let's go and find that clip. And yeah, we've put this computer through its paces, but it's doing very well. I'm just going to open it up in VLC. Yeah, so this 40 seconds took about 6 minutes. It looks like he applied some filters to the video too, I'm hoping. Otherwise, it just looks like garbage. That's my older daughter. She is 6. Okay, so I totally botched this. I think he was trying to do some stabilization or something. I'm not sure what the heck he was doing. Oh, you know, I never clicked Analyze. That's why. All right. Well, I think we have an idea here as to how long it took. Maybe what I'll do is I will cut it right before we get to that other thing, because you saw how long a bulk of that was taking. So, all right. So, I think we left the last clip off on me. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start it off here. We'll just kind of do it this way. All right. Three, two, one. So we ran this 40-second clip out to 3, 2, 1. So we ran this 30-second clip out to the Adobe Media Encoder using the OpenCL hardware acceleration. We took the 4K clip and brought it to 1080p at 60 frames per second. So kept the frame rate but reduced the resolution. And it took about 5 minutes, more time. So this is what I mean by like repeating myself because I'm recording this. So we're going to just take one more take. 3, 2, 1. So we ran an export through the Adobe Media Encoder. That was with the OpenCL hardware acceleration enabled. It took it about 6 minutes to render out that 40-second clip. And I'm going to play it back now so you can get a feel as to exactly what this clip incorporated. So it's got a couple of transitions and some filters in there. Nothing spectacular from a rendering standpoint, but things that certainly would tax the CPU a little bit when it's doing an export. So it's not going to be the fastest exporting, certainly not the fastest rendering, but you get an idea as to what you can expect. So make some time for that export. But you should be able to edit some video on here. But I would recommend having external hard drives, of course, if you don't have a lot of storage internally, and making sure you have enough RAM to work with. And one of the things that we talked about in the original review of this laptop is that it has 4 gigs of RAM soldered onto the motherboard, and then it will let you install or upgrade another 4 gigs on its little slot that you can use to install RAM. Now you could go beyond, see, I totally botched that one. See, when we get into the technical weeds late at night, not a good thing. So I'm going to go just do this one more time, everybody. Sorry about that. And then we will continue onward, because next is OBS, which I'm really excited. Actually, we're going to do Photoshop next, then we'll do OBS. So let me just cross off that. And we're just going to play this back one more time. 3, 2, 1. So we exported this 4K 60 frames per second clip at 1080p at 60 frames per second. We did just a very basic export with the Adobe Media Encoder with hardware acceleration enabled. It took it about 6 minutes to export, and this is what the clip looks like when it's done. So we have some titling in here. We've got some transition effects that you'll see running here in a second. Jake applied some filters to some of the video too, just to kind of put a few things out there that it would have to render out. So it's not going to be very fast at export, but I think it's enough that you can work with this to get some video going on it. Memory, RAM, is very important for video editing. Note that this particular laptop, this Lenovo, has 4 gigs of RAM soldered onto the motherboard, and then it's got another slot available that you can put more RAM in. This one I purchased had 8 gigs on it, which means that 4 gigs is built into the motherboard, and it had another 4 gig RAM module installed in its slot. Now you could bring up the RAM on this, but you would likely lose the benefits of dual channel RAM in the process, which these AMD chips really like. Because if you break the pair, that dual channel doesn't work so well anymore. So you might lose performance by adding memory, and that's some of the trade-offs here with these low-cost devices. There are a few laptops out there like the Acer Slim and the Dell we'll be looking at this week on the channel that do have 2 removable RAM slots. And if you do intend to bring the RAM up beyond whatever you're buying it at, you'll probably want to contact a manufacturer or do some research to make sure that you can upgrade the RAM in pairs. Otherwise, you'll run into some issues with performance. Let's take a look now at Photoshop. All right, not perfect, but I'm going to keep that one. So we'll see how it goes. Lewis wants to know, what do I think of Ryzen for the next generation of consoles? Well, one of the things that's been interesting about Ryzen technology is that AMD has been making all of the chips in our PlayStations and Xboxes, and they've been doing a very good job of it. So I think it'll be very good stuff. I mean, these chips look like they're super fast, and it's amazing what you're going to get. You know, really good 4K real-time rendering on a $500 game console. I think that's what they're going to cost. Really cool. So I'm excited for those consoles. I think it's going to do a lot. I was surprised that they're still doing them. I thought we would be at a point where there would be affordable gaming PCs, and Microsoft would just transition over to that. I'm surprised that Microsoft hasn't made a really nice Windows TV interface, because I think a lot of people are hooking their computers up to TVs now, as I'm doing. So I don't know. Exporting video. Okay, done. Next up, we are going to look at Photoshop. Hot Sauce and Video Games is here. Welcome. All right, so let's do Photoshop. And I've got a file, I think. Where did it go? Where did that file go? See, I told you something would go wrong. Where did my photo go? Let's see. I might have moved it. I was just editing it earlier. Bear with me, folks. Let me just see where that file went. All right, so let's go to last. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to load it that way. That'll work. Okay. All right. So Scott Green set up a friend with an HP 2nd Gen Ryzen 15-inch, and it was quite loud. Yeah, every one of these laptops from a fan standpoint will be different. And again, too, it's also a matter of what you can tolerate, right? I mean, everyone has a different tolerance level, and you know, maybe if you're in a noisier. So I'll give you a great example. If I'm doing some work in the evening in the kitchen area where I'm at the little bench seat there that I got, and the kids are out making noise and everything else, I'm not hearing a fan because there's so much other noise going on around me. In a quiet office, it will certainly be a lot more noticeable. And that's where the desktop PCs come into play. All right, Metal Beer Solid. I love that name. That's great stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and start recording. Let me just see where I last left off. Okay, there we go. And it's going to become very evident in this video that I know nothing about Premiere, so hopefully people will be nice to me. All right. Let's go from here. Atik Haroon wants to know about budget game controllers. Here's what I would do. I don't know if it constitutes budget or not, but that 8BitDo SN30 Pro Plus, best thing out there from a compatibility standpoint. It works with the Switch, the PC, and Android. It's the total package. I use it all the time now. It's like my go-to. I am so happy with that controller. All right, 3, 2, 1. So let's load up Photoshop now and see how photo editing does on this machine. I did a little bit with Photoshop earlier, and it really does feel pretty nice on here. Again, if you're going to be loading up these huge files, super high resolution with a lot of layers, you're going to start eating into some of the memory issues and not have a great experience. But if you're doing basic stuff here, actually, let me get these windows cleared up. We're going to do this one more time. There's too much junk on screen here. Let's just collapse that. I haven't been using Photoshop that much either because of the cost. You know, I was using Photoshop for my thumbnails. I was like, this is a lot of money per month to pay for thumbnails. So I started using Pixelmator on the Mac, and that did a lot better. So what we're going to do in the Photoshop test here is just kind of do that content-aware removal, just to give a sense as to how that works. And what was interesting, by the way, about this machine is that this one only has 1 gig of video memory shared, but it was able to run Premiere. So there you go. That was good. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's load up Photoshop now. And again, we're not going to do any huge project here, but we're going to take a look at some basic kinds of activity. Just like Premiere, if you've got some really huge project that's a lot of hype. Yeah, one more time. 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's load up Photoshop now and see how it does. Now we're going to do, again, more of a basic kind of edit here, just because you have to keep your expectations in check. If you've got some multi-gigabyte image file that needs a lot of RAM, this is not going to be doing it for you, especially a lot of filters and other things that really need a more powerful GPU to make them happen quickly. But what we're going to be doing here is just kind of zooming in on this file, and we're going to do a content-aware removal of this poll here, just to kind of put some processing at work here beyond just some basic image editing. So I'm just going to readjust my selection here, and I'm going to hit the delete key, and we're going to do that content-aware fill. I'm going to click OK. And it's pretty quick at doing it. It is chewing on it here a little bit, but it did it. It got rid of that thing and was able to fill the water back in. And of course, you might have to do a little bit more fine tuning when you are editing the photo. But nonetheless, as you can see here, one of the more advanced Photoshop features is working fine. We could add additional layers. We could do a lot of other things here in Photoshop. But again, you don't want to be doing high-end tasks here with this particular machine. I think I'm going to do this one more time. And because I'm just blabbering on a little bit. So what happens with me is that later in the evening, I lose my cohesiveness because I don't script anything. And as I start to get, I think this is directly aligned with my children. Ever since we had the kids, by the time I get to like 8 o'clock, I'm done. So this is when my mental acuity is like tapped out, because those kids they're great, but they really take a lot out of you getting to bed. They just don't put themselves to bed yet. So, all right, let's try this again. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's load up Photoshop now and see how everything works. Now again, you want to keep your expectations in check here. This is a low-cost laptop. You're not going to be editing multi-gigabyte image files with thousands of layers and everything else. This is going to be more of a basic editing tool, but one that I think can accomplish a lot of what people might want to do in Photoshop. So for example, what I want to do is get rid of this poll here. So I'm just going to make a selection. I gotta get my right mouse button going here, the left mouse button I should say. We're going to select that poll. I'm going to hit the backspace key and do a content aware fill. This is one of the more advanced Photoshop features that does require some crunching, and we'll let that run here for a second. Now if you've got a faster computer, of course this would happen a lot quicker, but there you go. It was able to remove that without too many issues here. We can go in and make some adjustments to the curves maybe and see how fast things react to that. So I'll grab this and just kind of move things around and just start playing around here a little bit just to get a sense as to the real-time reaction here. So it's a good basic tool here. Again, $375 to get some functional Photoshop and video editing here, I think is a pretty good deal. And again, if you are keeping your expectations in line, I think you'll be very pleased with what you're going to get for the price point. Let's take a look now at OBS and see what it can do with real-time video. What do you think of that, folks? I think that works, right? Let me know. Lee1302 is here. Welcome. All right, let me go and just drop this in here. So I'm sure I'll get some heat because there will be some really advanced Photoshop user or some advanced Premiere user that wants to do something. But you know, here's my target audience. Is my target audience are consumers, and consumers are doing basics, and that's what I'm after. So all of you watching, watch me because look, if you want to get some super technical stuff, I'm sure there's going to be somebody that's going to do that here, and I will send this to whoever if they want to get that done. All right, Photoshop. But you know, you show some higher end task and do some curves, and I think that should work, right? All right, so this is Photoshop. All right, boom, working our way through the list. Okay, so now for OBS, we have a bunch of stuff we got to set up here. So item 1 is our Nintendo Switch. And I got to plug it all in here. And then attached to the Switch is my Cam Link that came in from Elgato a while back. And I'm using the Cam Link specifically because this doesn't have any onboard video transcoding. So it's delivering essentially this raw 1080p 60 out to the thing here. So we're going to plug the Switch in. And what else are we going to do here? We are going to load up OBS. I'm going to turn the switch on. And let's get OBS going here. I'm actually curious to see what happens when I first light it up. So let's see what it does. Because I like this notion of showing things loading. There we go. So I've got my webcam here. So that's going. And unfortunately, the webcam is not pointing. I got to be careful here not to knock my switch off the desk here. So maybe I'll just go into frame here and just kind of do some of that. I'll move it over a little bit because I don't want my switch to fall off the desk. But I think it's important to show the switch here so that people understand like what's connected. Where did my Pro controller go? Now see, I thought I brought everything down with me, but apparently my Pro controller is not here. Where did it go? Bear with me for 1 second. I just got to find that Pro controller. I'm pretty sure I brought it down with me, but it might still be upstairs. So why don't you all talk amongst yourselves for a second. I just need to go check in the kitchen and see where that controller went. So hang on. And we'll see where it went. Oh, there it is. Yep, I left it up here. So we're going to grab that. And I'm going to come back downstairs. Ugh. And in case you're wondering, I work out of my basement. So there we go. Okay. Now I've got the Pro controller. Okay, Feral Sparky is here. Welcome. And all right, so the Pro controller is going to re-enable the switch here, hopefully. I gotta hit the home button, that's right. There it goes. Okay, and that should, boom, okay, come back up. And what I was doing as a demo was like running a 60 frames per second thing here. And what I might want to do, because Mark here specifically requested that we bring in a third camera. And it just so happens that I have the ability to do that. So I've got this thing and that thing. And so what we're going to do is bring in a third camera. And maybe we'll set that up as a third scene. And I can actually bring the video out from the TriCaster over to the laptop. Normally I would do NDI for this, but I didn't get all that set up. So we'll just do, I'm going to replicate more of what somebody might just be doing normally. All right, so we got that going. And in case you're wondering, the CPU utilization right now is 4.5%. So it's definitely doing some hardware transcoding. Now, incidentally, for whatever reason, my look what I'm getting. Yeah, that's what that's what's coming out of the output at the moment. So let me recycle that. That's not good. There it goes. Okay. That's better. Okay, that works. So I can show that at least. All right. I don't even know what that is. All right, so there we go. And so what we're going to be doing, so I can't actually stream anything because I'm streaming right now. And if I had another stream, everything goes. So that is what we're going to do. Okay, so I got that hooked up. And what I'm going to do here is we're going to duplicate this overlay. And we're going to call this 3-camera. Or 3-source, because we're going to have 2 cameras, the webcam, the switch, and then we're going to add the TriCaster into the mix. So I have the magwell here hooked up, and I'm going to grab output 2 from my TriCaster. I'm just following the cable around here. Oh, it's over there. Okay, hang on a second, folks. I got to find where this cable's going. So the TriCaster, it's pretty amazing, actually. It can output 2 separate video signals via HDMI. So one of them I run to a TV that I've got here, and the other one is just kind of hanging out. So sometimes I use it for other things. But what's happened with the TriCaster is that they use this NDI technology now. And so what that lets you do is output video over the network. So this thing outputs like 4 or 5, I think all the cameras go out on their own over the network now via NDI. It's an amazing technology. We should probably, I did a video on it. And the new TriCaster, which I'm thinking about getting, is does all NDI. It's 8 NDI. This one does 4. All right, so the output of the second HDMI port is the first camera, so that should be fine. Okay, so now we're going to add, now I'll show you what I'm doing here. We are going to add another video capture device. And we're going to call this Magwell. And we're going to grab this here, and we're going to go down to this. Boom. All right, so now you can see that's like on top of everything. So we're going to make it smaller. And so now, to answer Mark's question, we have 3 sources here, although the webcam just stopped. Of course it did. So let's figure out what's going on with that. Let's see if we can re-enable the webcam here. All right, so let's go back to the 2. I wonder if the webcam just like froze up on us. So let's quit. Let me just resize this a little bit here. And the CPU utilization is now at 7.6%. But if worse comes to worse, I can try to bring it in via NDI, and that would probably improve things. So let's just do that. And I think what I'll do is I'll put this one on top of the Magwell. Oops. There it goes. Okay, now we're good. And yeah, so we're good. Look at that. And the fan's going. We're at 8.1%. And the big question here is whether or not, let me just move this up one notch, whether or not it could handle recording. Let's bring that up there. Okay, there we go. Okay. So the big question is whether or not this could handle recording. So let us record. And so now we're recording, and we're utilizing about 16% of the CPU. And we've got all this video going. And we're recording at 60 frames per second, but 2 of these input sources are 30, so it's having to double the frames, I guess. Yeah, and I can hear that fan really kicking on now. But look at it. I mean, it's working. This is fine. And let's switch between them. So let's go to the, just to like, oops, what's that? What happened there? Why is that dim? Oh, it's the, here it goes. It's got like a screensaver on it. So that's by itself. No problem. And I'm recording all of this right now. We can go to the overlay with 2, and then we can go to the 3 source. So that's working. Now, granted, if you're doing green screen and pushing it a little bit further, that might be a problem. But here we are on a $375 computer, and we've got plenty of room to play with here. All right, so that's good. So let's now look at the recording we just made and just see how that came out. So let's go to videos. And we're going to do this again and record it. So this is what we just recorded at 17. Is this the one we just did? Yeah. So let's pull it up in VLC real quick. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. What do you all think? Destructive disk. Yes, this is going to be a video, so I'm working on the video as we speak. So just like some of the other ones that I do, this will be a lot more concise when it goes up. But I just wanted to test this to see how it all worked. This looks great. All right, so let's see. So this is the recording you're watching now. And it's doing all the soft dissolves. That's fantastic. So I am quite pleased with this. All right, so let us start from here and see where we go. All right, have a good night, Spuds. Look for the video. It will be up soon, so you can see the rest of it. All right, let me just answer a few questions here, and then we'll get to the recording component here. So we're going to go to OBS, and then after this, we're doing Dolphin and PS2, and then we're going to call it. So Kevin Lewis wants to know what game this is. This is Virtua Racing, and Sega did a Sega Ages port of Virtua Racing on the Switch. And I believe the enthusiasts out there are calling this the quintessential port of this classic game. This came out in the early 90s. And just remember, like, early 90s, you didn't see, like, there was no 3D like this. And this was really, I think this was pretty close to what you know, obviously the arcade was a lower resolution display, but it was running at 60 frames per second. There's some good videos out there about the history of this game. All right. So let us, you know, I do wonder if, let me look and see if we can, I'm just going to check some settings here real quick. So I can't stream because I'm actually live streaming at the moment, but the recording is pretty much the same as doing a stream. I just wonder if there's a way that I could just serve it locally or something and just toss it over to, so I used to be able to shoot this stuff at my TriCaster. Although I think, if I'm not mistaken, we could fire it off to, I guess I would need a server somewhere. I'm just going to run with the recording and just kind of explain what we're doing. Because recording is the same as streaming for the most part. I mean, you are transcoding video. So that is how it works. Okay. So we have a new viewer here, everybody. This is Lurch's Coins and Games. Hard to believe I haven't found you before watching. So I did that Starlink video yesterday. And he's also just out in the sticks, he says, in rural Alabama, and he's paying a fortune, and he would love to have faster speeds, as I would as well, because I'm in Connecticut. I've got, you know, cities nearby, but because of where I am, they're just never going to do it. And my phone company is going out of business, so there's no competition for Comcast. So it's the phone company is going out of business. They're well, maybe not going out of business. They're going bankrupt. So it's crazy. And Taliere La Mandela on the chat says, since when does Amazon have live streams? They've actually been having live streams for quite a while now, and they are letting us influencers come in and influence things. So we are pioneering new ground here. So, and we're testing out some low-cost Ryzen laptops. Okay, so we're going to start recording here, everybody, and we're going to see how this goes. And if I'm missing questions in the YouTube chat, I apologize, everybody. I'm doing my best, but I got a million screens on me here, so I'm trying to do it right here. All right, so we'll go 3, 2, 1. All right, so I set up a little OBS lab here. What I've got is my Nintendo Switch, which is feeding video into the laptop with an Elgato Cam Link. And this is an interesting device because the Cam Link doesn't do anything to the video. It is bringing in raw 1080p 60 video, and the computer is having to deal with that. And a lot of times lower powered computers have a really hard time keeping up. Now, if you look at the lower right-hand portion of the screen, you'll see what kind of overhead we're dealing with right now. So the CPU is about 5% with this 1080p 60 video coming in full screen. And what I want to do here in OBS is start recording. I can't stream out at the moment because I am actually doing a live stream as I'm recording this video, but recording is a very similar process in that it's going to transcode the video into something smaller. So when I hit record here, you'll see it's doing an H.264 recording. Our CPU utilization has gone up to about 15% or so, but we still have plenty of room here to do other things. And I was really, really, really impressed with what is happening here with a $375 computer. We're able to run this video full speed at 1080p 60 and record it or stream it without any kind of lag or issues at all, which is just amazing to me. Now, what I also have here is an overlay running with the video source from the Switch and me on the computer's webcam. That is doing just fine. Again, we're still at about 15% here with the recording going. And then I also brought in a third source, my studio camera, also over HDMI with a Magwell capture device. And as you can see here, it's keeping up just fine as we're switching between all of these scenes. And it just is, again, remarkable to me that we're doing this on a computer that is well south of $500. So it's really doing quite well. OBS supports AMD for hardware acceleration, even with these lower cost Ryzen chips. And it's just a remarkable experience here to play around with OBS on something so low cost. Now, I think if you were to start doing chroma key, green screen effects and that sort of thing, you'll certainly eat into the CPU a bit more. But really, with multiple video sources here running at this frame rate, to be able to do this and transcode the video in real time to a recording is just pretty cool. So I'm going to stop the recording here real quick. Let's close out of OBS and let's load up that file that we just recorded and see how it came out. So here it is here. We'll just start playing it. Now I'm recording this video at 30 frames per second, so it's not going to give you the full effect, but I might just put this up on my extras channel so you can get a feel for it. But it's running here full speed. It doesn't look like there's any drop frames or anything as it is playing back, so it looks like it was able to record everything perfectly. This, of course, is H.264. I think I set the bit rate to like 5 megabits per second, so it's really kind of replicating what you would have on a live stream. And I'm just going to fast forward here a little bit to when we started switching scenes, because that would be an area where we might detect some lag. And as we are switching back and forth here, we'll see that part here, then we should be switching to our multi-camera view here in a second once the video keeps playing here. I don't want to, there it goes. So there you go. It seems to be working pretty nicely here for recording and real-time video capturing and production. And again, just really cool what you can do with one of these low-end devices. And there's the 3 up there. No problems at all. Okay. I think that's good. Yeah, so my issues, so we're having a discussion in the chat about bandwidth. And what I need more than anything right now is upstream bandwidth, because I am just dying here. We are uploading to multiple platforms. I'm live streaming. And a perfect example is tonight. Like, I could not do a portion of the demonstration that I wanted to do because I only have 12 megabits upstream. And what I'm uploading to right now is we're uploading to Amazon, we're uploading to Plex, we're uploading to YouTube. So every video that I output, my videos tend to be 10, 15, 20 minutes. We're looking at 3 gigabytes usually for every upload, and that's right now at 1080p. If I go to 4K, we would probably be double that, likely. And obviously that would take a lot more time to upload. So we're just constantly saturating the upstream connection throughout the day. And then we have other things that we're uploading to for copyright stuff. And I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And it's killing me because, I'm paying people by the hour to work here. And if they're tied up just waiting for uploads to complete, that's not efficient use of time, and it's putting me, it's costing me money and putting me at a disadvantage. And I'm not doing as much perhaps as I would otherwise because it's taking so long to get this stuff uploaded. I was uploading videos myself today, and it just was like, oh, this is killing me. So, and I can't so another example would be, I've been putting up these review videos, and I've not been able to upload to YouTube and Amazon at the same time. Otherwise, it takes forever for both. So it's just pretty crazy frustrated. So that's why I need the upstream, just because we are pushing out so much content, and it's really difficult. I just want to play a part of that back, because that clip ran about 3.5 minutes. So I just want to make sure I'm not blabbering. All right, so I set up a little OBS lab here. What I've got is my Nintendo Switch. 3, 2, 1. All right, so I set up a little OBS lab here. What I've got is my Nintendo Switch, which is feeding video into the laptop with an Elgato Cam Link. And this is an interesting device because the Cam Link doesn't do anything to the video. It is bringing in raw 1080p 60 video, and the computer is having to deal with that. And a lot of times lower powered computers have a really hard time keeping up. Now, if you look at the lower right-hand portion of the screen, you'll see what kind of overhead we're dealing with right now. So the CPU is about 5% with this 1080p 60 video coming in full screen. And what I want to do here in OBS is start recording. I can't stream out at the moment because I am actually doing a live stream as I'm recording this video, but recording is a very similar process in that it's going to transcode the video into something smaller. So when I hit record here, you'll see it's doing an H.264 recording. Our CPU utilization has gone up to about 15% or so, but we still have plenty of room here to do other things. And I was really, really, really impressed with what is happening here with a $375 computer. We're able to run this video full speed at 1080p 60 and record it or stream it without any kind of lag or issues at all, which is just amazing to me. Now, what I also have here is an overlay running with the video source from the switch and me on the computer's webcam. That is doing just fine. Again, we're still at about 15% here with the recording going. And then I also brought in a third source, my studio camera, also over HDMI with a Magwell capture device. And as you can see here, it's keeping up just fine as we're switching between all of these scenes. And it just is, again, remarkable to me that we're doing this on a computer that is well south of $500. So it's really doing quite well. OBS supports AMD for hardware acceleration, even with these lower cost Ryzen chips. And it's just a remarkable experience here to play around with OBS on something so low cost. Now, I think if you were to start doing chroma key, green screen effects and that sort of thing, you'll certainly eat into the CPU a bit more. But really, with multiple video sources here running at this frame rate, to be able to do this and transcode the video in real time to a recording is just pretty cool. So I'm going to stop the recording here real quick. Let's close out of OBS and let's load up that file that we just recorded and see how it came out. So here it is here. We'll just start playing it. Now I'm recording this video at 30 frames per second, so it's not going to give you the full effect, but I might just put this up on my extras channel so you can get a feel for it. But it's running here full speed. It doesn't look like there's any drop frames or anything as it is playing back, so it looks like it was able to record everything perfectly. This, of course, is H.264. I think I set the bit rate to like 5 megabits per second, so it's really kind of replicating what you would have on a live stream. And I'm just going to fast forward here a little bit to when we started switching scenes, because that would be an area where we might detect some lag. And as we are switching back and forth here, we'll see that part here, and then we should be switching to our multi-camera view here in a second once the video keeps playing here. I don't want to, there it goes. So there you go. It seems to be working pretty nicely here for recording and real-time video capturing and production. And again, just really, really cool what you can do with one of these low-end devices. And there's the 3 up there. No problems at all. All right. What I might do here is just bring in this footage is B-roll, because I have it. So I should just do that and just do a little voiceover. So I'll make a note to record a VO before we wrap up here. Just want to see what the bit rate was on that. Yeah, I'm just going to record a quick B-roll shot here. So let me just do that real quick so that I have it, and then we'll figure out which one I want to use. 3, 2, 1. And here is the recorded footage from what we just did. It looks great. All of the transitions are working without any drop frames. The 60 frames per second video here is also running super smooth. So really just an amazing experience here out of this low-priced laptop. I'll take this file and upload it to my extras channel so you can see it in 60 frames per second to get a better feel for what it just recorded. But I'm not seeing anything that alarms me here. And I think if you are looking to play with OBS and wanted something to run your OBS streams from, you might be able to get by with this and really have a nice little video production studio for very little money. Okay, then I've got it, so I can decide what I want to do later. Okay, so we got that done. Now it's time to play some games, everybody. We did the games on the review, but we're going to do 2 emulator examples. One is the GameCube emulator, and the other is the PS2 emulator. Those are the 2 that we're going to play with. And I think what I've got to get is my game controller out in a minute. I have an Xbox controller over here, yeah, so I can just plug that in. All right, so let's just do VO for recording footage and drop that in. And then I've got my Xbox controller. Look at that, everybody. I got a day 1 edition because I bought the original. And I've got a couple of things to talk about related to my internet connection here, too, just to clear things up. So Destructo Disc wants me to, oh, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Wants to know if I can get the TMOS new home service. I'm not sure what that is. Likely not, because I get nothing here. So for those of you wondering what I'm using, and by the way, I don't know what TMOS is, or T-Mobile's new home service. Maybe that's what he's referring to. T-Mobile does not work where I am. I have phones that have used the T-Mobile SIMs, and they are dead in my neighborhood. Like there's just no signal at all. I'm using Comcast for internet, 'cause it's my only choice. And like I said, we're at 12 megabits per second upstream. I did try to contact the business office to see if there's better options out there on the business side. And even the business services, at least where I am, is like locked at 12. It's the same wires, so they can't do any better. Comcast does have a fiber to home product called Gigabit Pro. And initially, it looked like I was going to be able to get that. It was about, I think, $300 a month, which is, I would have totally paid that. I mean, I would have gotten rid of the cable TV and just, used that. But what they thought was a 700-foot distance from whatever they have to plug me into turned out to be about 10 miles, and it was going to cost like $50,000 to hook me up. And I don't need it that bad. Maybe I do. I'd have to see what it's costing me. Maybe it does cost me $50,000 a year. I don't know. But they just said, sorry, dude. So my options are I could move. I think actually I'd have to call them back. I mean, I could try to rent an office space somewhere. But like one of the things that I like about, I'm just moving a file over. Just bear with me for a second here. One of the things that I like about my home office is that I can work at night. I just put the kids up to bed help my wife get the kids upstairs, and I came down and started the stream. So I'm able to work at night. And I would not want to just, even if it was not far from home, I just don't, I kind of like the luxury of being able to work out of my house. So I'd hate to lose that. I mean, I suppose I could have like stuff here and stuff at another office location, so that could work. But right now with the kids being young, it's just easier to be working from home. So that's kind of the deal at the moment. I'm just going to move this file over real quick. That's the file we just recorded. I'm just going to drop it onto the... Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're good there. And now we got the controller connected, and let me show you what we're going to do next. So my big hope is Starlink is like my hope now. So we'll see what happens with Starlink. Like I said, I just need, if I had like 100 megabits upstream, I'd be happy. And if they could do that, I'm in. My downstream, I'm actually perfectly fine with. It's I got about 300 megabits per second downstream, and that's fine. I'm able to do everything I want with that. So I have no problems with my downstream. It's just the upstream. What really gets me about the whole Comcast situation is that they reached out. So I do writing occasionally for a local publication, and they had reached out with this gigabit service that they offered, and they're like, oh, it's in the state, we're moving this gigabit all over the place, and it's gigabit downstream, and then upstream is 35 megabits per second, which again I would take because it's faster than what I have. And when and now this was 2 years ago, and they have yet to bring it to me here. So we're still right back where we started from. Do I have to map controls? It looks like I do. Okay, so let's map the controls real quick. So one thing that I probably need to get better about on Dolphin is the control mapping. So let us do the buttons. All right, this is plugged in, but it's not. Oh, I got to change it to gamepad. There we go. So I'm always finding myself having to remap controls on this thing here. And I'm probably mapping the wrong things, but we'll just do enough to get started here. That's all I'm looking to do. All right, D-pad up, down, left, right. Control stick, up, down, left, right, and the C stick. left, right, and triggers. It's not picking up the analog, is it? Let's try that. There it goes. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. And we'll just save. I think if I copy that profile from one computer to the next, I wouldn't have to keep doing this. Okay. Now we are good. All right, so let us continue. And actually, I'm not going to record yet. Just want to make sure it's up and running here. So you'll find with this, so this is the Star Wars game, and it will start off like this, and then after you play it for a little bit, because I think it has to load in all the shaders, is my understanding, and it will then speed up after that. So we need to just let the game run for a little bit here to get the performance up. And so it's going to slow down massively when we blow up this tower, and then it'll speed up again. And this is behavior you'll find even on like a higher end PC. And this game is just like notorious for this. So once it gets through this, then it will calm down and it'll start. So you can see it's already starting to get a little bit smoother. And this game is a great one to run because if you can get playable performance out of this, then you're going to have a pretty good GameCube experience, just given how tough this game is on the hardware and how unique it was. All right, I think we're ready to go. Jared Armbuster is here. Yeah, I'm eager to see what Starlink is going to bring to the table because I think there's a lot of potential given the number of satellites that they have for capacity, or will have, and the fact that they're in much lower orbits, so you won't have the light latency issues. So we'll see where it goes. All right, so I think where we last left off here is on the, okay, we have that thing there. Yeah, so I think what we'll do is, because I'm starting off on the laptop, so I think I'll start off on me, and then we'll kind of go from there. All right, we're almost done, folks. We're in the home stretch here. 3, 2, 1. All right, so now it's time to move on to some fun and games. Now, we covered some of the PC games. Let's start again. 3, 2, 1. So let's move on now to some games. We covered PC games in the reviews that we did on each of these laptops, but we didn't talk about emulation. And what we're going to do now is take a look at the Dolphin emulator running on the Lenovo IdeaPad here, again with the R5 2500U processor. So let's go full screen here. And what I'd like to do as a stress test is to run the Star Wars Rogue Leader game, which is really a killer on the GameCube emulator, Dolphin here. And as you can see, it's not running too badly. We're getting about 45 frames per second. I'm going to start this again. I misspoke a couple of times here. All right, one more time. 3, 2, 1. And this is, again, what I say, I get tired at night. So that is what happens. Hukuro-san says you can download complete shaders from the forum now. Oh, that might be something to try out. All right, let's try this again. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we did a couple of 3, 2, 1. So let's take a look at some fun stuff now. 3, 2, 1. So let's take a look at some more fun stuff now. We looked earlier at games on each of the individual reviews that we did of these laptops, but I didn't cover emulation. So let's take a look again at a baseline here for GameCube emulation with Dolphin on these Ryzen chips. Now this is the probably most demanding game that you can run on Dolphin. There's probably a few others that are pretty stressful, but this one is Star Wars, shoot, I hit the wrong camera ready. Let's try this one more time. So we'll get this going here. All right, one more time, folks, and then I think I'll get a good take here. Okay, I do the 3, 2, 1 because I need to leave time on the clip in case we have to do some transitions or stuff. It's good to have a few extra seconds to play with in case you have to adjust stuff. All right, 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. All right, now it's time to play a few more games. Now, we covered PC games in each of the individual reviews we did of these laptops, but we did not cover emulation. And I've got the Dolphin emulator running right now with Star Wars Rogue Leader, which is a game that typically challenges most low-end PCs. And as you can see here, it's actually playing pretty decently. Now, one thing that happens with this game is that it does need to kind of load in its shaders when you first start playing. So if you start playing this game on a Ryzen device and notice that it's really sluggish, give it a little bit. It'll actually even out once you start playing for a little while, and then it should be able to maintain that level of performance as you go. Frame rates on this are varying quite a bit, but I'm not seeing it usually dip lower than 45 or 40 frames per second once it has those shaders loaded in. So by and large, it's a pretty good experience here on the Dolphin emulator, even for something, it looks like I lost the game here, even for something low end. I think I took too long to do whatever I was supposed to do. So let me load up the save state again. And see, this is what happens when you try to record live to disk. Stuff happens. And my brain capacity is like slowly leaving me. All right, so let's load that back in. I love save states. They really help. Okay, let us go here. Okay, this will be it. I promise you. Maybe not. 3, 2, 1. So let's move on to some more fun stuff. We've got the GameCube emulator Dolphin running on the machine right now, and I always like to run Star Wars Rogue Leader, which is one of the more challenging games you can run on the Dolphin emulator, and it's actually doing okay here on this hardware. Not perfect. One of the things that you'll notice with this game is that it often will run really sluggishly and laggy when you first get it going. And then after it gets all of its shaders loaded in, it speeds up. So you'll see it kind of lagging here and there, but it will eventually kind of catch up and start running more smoothly the longer you play it. Generally, I'm seeing frame rates around 40 to 45 frames per second with this game, sometimes going up a little bit higher than that. But this is really good for low-end hardware, and there's a bunch of other GameCube games that I think will do better on this platform versus Rogue Leader, which will even challenge some pretty high-end devices. So altogether here, I think you'll have a lot of fun playing with low-end emulators, of course, but even some of the higher ones too. Let's take a look now at some PS2 emulation. I think that's good, right? And it's tough because you don't know what to show, because I'm trying to not make this a 4-hour ordeal. So my gut on this is that if it can run Rogue Leader, I think people can get a sense as to what they should be able to do with it. So we'll see how many thumbs up and thumbs down we get on this when it's done. But it's good to have you all in here, because if there's something that I'm just totally off about, hopefully one of you will speak up or type up. All right, so this is Dolphin. And then the last thing on my list is the PS2. So let me get that running here. And then we're going to call it a night. I'll take a couple questions, and then that'll be it. But I'll be back. Oh, so, because somebody brought this up on the chat, and I totally forgot to respond to that chat there. We're going to be back right here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. And what we're going to do is the GeForce Now update. So if you were waiting for the beta of GeForce Now to conclude, or you were waiting for your turn to get in, the beta is now over, and you can get in. They have a free tier, and then you can do the higher end tier for $5 a month for the first year, and it's a monthly payment. So you get 1 hour of playtime on the free tier, and there's going to be a line. So if there's a lot of people using it, you're not going to get in. If you pay, you'll get in, and I think you get 6 hours of concurrent usage on it. So it's not much different than the beta, but there is RTX now enabled on the paid tier. So there's something there if you wanted to look at some of the ray tracing games and stuff. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to do something on it. I mean, the fact that you can run it for free is good, and you know, I think Google with the Stadia thing, it works fine, but they kind of missed the mark on it. The difference here with GeForce Now, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow night, is that you don't have to pay for. Well, you buy the games on Steam or you buy them on Epic, and that's where you get the game. So you can play it on the streaming service, or you can play it locally. The choice is yours. And during the beta, I was playing No Man's Sky on my TV in my bedroom, streaming it with my Shield because I could. And then because it's Steam, it's the same game I have on Steam because it's running off of Steam. It syncs my save game file up, so I'd have it back on my PC when I booted that up. It was really pretty cool. So it's good stuff. And I'm trying to figure out where my PS2 emulator went. All right, so let's load up. I'm going to go and set these things up here. B2Bubba wants to know my thoughts on it coming to Chromebooks and Android. I think that they're definitely going after Google Stadia here. It's crazy. So it's happening. So yeah, they're going to Chromebook, and it's on. I think it's on Android now. But the only TV box that you can play it on is the Shield. And I'm sure somebody's gotten some side-loaded thing going, but officially it's the Shield. So that is it. All right, let me go. All right, I got the game loaded here. I think I can just boot it, right? Let's see. There it goes. And I'm running these things at like their basic resolution here. Can we go full screen with this? So this is one emulator I am not I haven't used all that much. I've always been an Xbox guy, so I haven't done a lot with the PlayStation. I have a PlayStation 2, but I bought it just recently. Actually, I found it. My brother had one, and he just left it at one of the houses. I just took it. I forgot whose house he left it at. Hopefully he's not watching. Okay. So I think I can just kind of go full screen here. That should work. And this is one of my favorite games. And by the way, I'm not doing anything. I'm running this stuff default, so I'm not doing any. I'm going to go to new profile. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just loading up the emulator basic settings, and this is what we're getting out of it. All right, I'm just going to. Okay, profile 1, yes. So Judge Parker, this is a Ryzen 5. This is a R5 2500U, I believe, is the chip in this one. And Travis Rhodes wanted to get one of these, and his wife went for the MacBook. It happens. But as they say, you got a happy wife, happy life. All right, let's do a Road Rage. I think that was kind of a fun, fast-paced. I love these Burnout games. I don't like the open world one. This is the PCSX2 emulator. It's probably good to mention that. PCSX2. I'm sure I'll botch that up also because I'm half awake here. All right, there we go. All right, so let's just get through this tutorial here. I think Burnout Revenge is probably the best of the bunch. So one of the things, some discussion about overclocking. I'm not finding any way to overclock these chips on these consumer models. I'm sure there's probably something out there that will let you do that, but you will not be able to do it with this one, or any of the others I've looked at for that matter. Well, Travis, you look on the bright side. If you have GeForce Now, you can stream games online, and you can at least get. And that's the other thing. So the performance you'll get out of GeForce Now is a 2080 or equivalent. It's equivalent to a 2080, including the RTX. And again, tomorrow night we will look at that. Price on this one is $375. 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigabyte NVMe. And if you click my link in the description, that'll take you right over to the Amazon stream, and you can see it's highlighted right now on the carousel there. Gosh, this like tutorial takes forever. I should have done a save state here. Yeah, I picked this, by the way, I picked this one for this video because it is, I think, the best performing of the three for the price. So this one costs the least, and performs pretty much the best, at least for graphical stuff here. All right, there we go. Let's see how it does. So it is running interlaced right now. And the graphics don't look right to me. I don't know about, here, let me pull this up here. I don't know if this is supposed to be, yeah, see, it's missing some textures here. So let us, I think I have to tweak some stuff here. So let me see if I can figure out how to set a save state so I don't have to go through that awful tutorial again. All right, so let's go over here, and we're going to say System, Save State. We'll go to slot 0. And I think I've got to tweak some of the video here. See, this was the one thing that I did not spend a lot of time on before I started, and I should have. All right, so let's see what our options are. So we can do, in hardware, OpenGL, Direct3D 11, or let's do OpenGL. See if we can. Let's see if we can improve the image quality here at all. If not, we can maybe find a different game. Yeah, these are dual channel. So and I mentioned this earlier, one of the things you will run into with this, bear with me folks, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing here. One of the things that you're going to run into with this is that some of these have half their RAM soldered on the board and the other half on a socket. And the challenge with that from a dual channel perspective is that if you wanted to go beyond, in this case, 8 gigabytes, you're going to lose your dual channel advantage because you're not having a pair anymore. All right, let me see if I can figure this out. I might just run with it, and it could be a night level, but I don't think it is. Yeah, this was in here before. Let's try one more setting here. Okay, so I'm going to turn interlacing off. Hit OK. It's probably going to refresh the graphics here. Let's see what it looks like. You know, I tweaked the setting there on the graphics, and that like totally killed the performance here. So let's go back and make an adjustment here to that. All right. Sorry, folks. There's always something. There's got to be something that doesn't work at the end of the day. And it's always at the end. So we're going to go back here and go to the fastest, or basic. Oh, it's already set to basic. So what did I do differently here? Let's go set it back to auto. Internal resolution, so the native resolution. All right, so hit OK here and see if that improves the frame rate. This was running much better a few minutes ago. I totally botched it. I think what I'm going to do is just reboot the emulator here and see if we can. Yeah, it's like 6. So what I'm getting at right now is about 60, 70%. And it was doing better before I started screwing around with it. So let me go back and just kind of reconfigure everything and try to get a better experience here. So let's go to plugin settings again. And we'll go and set this to, let me try Direct 3D and see what happens. And let's load the game up again. So some discussion about what you should be buying and what can be upgraded. I think when you're at this price point, you don't have a lot of options for upgradability to super high RAM amounts, RAM levels. So you gotta make decisions based on what your budget allows for. So I don't think you'll be able to find a $375 computer that has the graphics performance this does and can get that amount of RAM pumped into it. It could just be that this doesn't run all that great on here. That could be what I'm dealing with. Ah, there it goes. Okay. It's not perfect, but it's running close to 100% here, so that's good. It doesn't look great though. I'm not sure what I'm missing. I think it could just be some issues with the emulation. Let me try to bring in another game and just see if it looks better with something else. Although, you know what, it actually, there's definitely some graphic issues here. And it could be more of an emulation thing. Let's see, Michael Markwork is here. Welcome. We're just trying to troubleshoot the PC SX2 emulator a bit here because things are running okay, but the graphics don't look right. So I'm trying to kind of troubleshoot this a little bit. I like demoing Burnout because it is it is a fast game. So if it's working, if the emulator is working well with this platform, it would be a good example of something that would really kind of show it off a bit. And you saw earlier, like that sun is out, so it's like, yeah, it's just it's missing some textures and stuff. So let me just take a look at one more thing. But I have an idea as to how it's running, which is good. And also, it looks bad because we're running at 640 by 480. So let's see if we go into full screen mode, if that, it looks pretty much the same even if I'm, because if we tried boosting the resolution here, this thing would totally tank. So it's not, it's not going to deliver you the performance out of a higher end PC. So we are definitely struggling a bit here. Let's go over to, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just like point it at the Radeon mobile graphics. I'm imagining it's taking advantage of it. I couldn't see it not doing that. But for the heck of it, let's go back to OpenGL. And let's hit OK here and see what we get from a performance standpoint. Yeah, so OpenGL is a lot slower than Direct 3D is. So let's go back to, I might just call it to say, look, you know, it's just not great for the PS2. All right, so let's go back to Direct3D. Let's do Direct3D 9 again, because that's where we started. And again, we're going to force it on the Radeon here. Yeah, that seems to work the best. Yeah, and people are making some good points here that the PS2 performance is going to vary greatly by machine. So I think I'm going to run with this just because it'll at least give some ideas to what you can expect from a performance standpoint. And I think what this will be helpful for is we'll get some viewer feedback about perhaps some of the settings that might improve it a bit. So let me just get to the end here. Okay, so we last left off on that, and we'll come back on PS2, and we'll go from there. 3, 2, 1. Now, one last emulator to check out, and that is the PS2 emulator, PCSX2. Is that what it's called? PCSX2? PCSX2. All right, let me try this again. 3, 2, 1. All right, one last thing to check out, and that is the PS2 emulator, PCSX2. I've got Burnout here loaded up, Burnout 3. Having some issues with the emulation, which is probably not the fault of the hardware, but maybe some of you can help with that. So as you can see here, we don't have any sky, but the game is running okay. We're getting about 98% of full speed here, and this is a very fast game, of course. Actually, no, we're not doing that. We're looking at 60, yeah, we're only doing about 40 frames per second, so it's not so great. Let me start that again. All right, one more time. 3, 2, 1. So let's take 3, 2, 1. So one last thing to look at, and that is its PS2 emulation capabilities. And I've got Burnout 3 running here on the PCSX, or PCSX2. One more time. Too many things to remember in my head tonight. Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right, one last thing to check out, and that is the PCSX2 emulator, which is, of course, a PlayStation 2 emulator for Windows. And I've got Burnout 3 running right now. And by the way, I'm running both this and Dolphin at their default settings, basically at the 640 by 480 resolution or thereabouts, just to get the baseline. This one isn't doing as well. As you can see, we've got some issues in the emulation insofar as the sky not being on screen. The rest of the game seems to be playing okay, but we're running only about 50 to 70% of full speed here, even at the lowest resolution. So there's probably some settings that we need to tweak on here. We did do a couple of things before we started shooting, like changing to OpenGL and changing some of the Direct3D modes. Nothing was really getting us any better performance, so we kind of left it at the default DirectX 9 here. So if you have some tips on improving PS2 performance, maybe we'll revisit that in an upcoming video. But by and large, the PS2 emulation for this game at least isn't all that great, but of course it does vary quite a bit from one game to the other. So you'll probably need to tweak things a lot more here on the PS2 side. But overall, very nicely performing laptop here for its low price, especially with OBS. That really surprised me by how well OBS was functioning on here. So I think you can get a lot of utility out of this. Again, it's going to do better than an Intel machine at around the same price point. In some cases, it might do better than an Intel machine that costs significantly more, because its graphics capabilities are just so much better than what you'll get out of an Intel CPU without an external GPU. So if you're in the market for a very low-cost machine, I think these are really worth taking a look at. And of course, you can see all the reviews we've done of these Ryzen laptops linked down below in the video description. I have a feeling we're going to come back to this topic again in the future. So let me know if you'd like to see some other things down in the comments section, and we'll maybe do a follow-up video covering a few other performance experiences. Oh, I was so much there, but then I blew it. So we're going to see what we can salvage out of that take, and then I'm going to record my conclusion, and that might do it from there. All right, so this is 11008 PS2 emulator. And you could look at, like, you know, would you play GTA on here? But you can get it on the PC already, and it'll run better natively than it would, you know, trying to get it to work on an emulator, unless you're really into the PS2 version. So, yeah, that's it. So let's play the
3, 2, 1.
All right, one last thing to check out, and that is the PCSX2 emulator, which is, of course, a PlayStation 2 emulator for Windows. And I've got Burnout 3 running right now. And by the way, I'm running both this and Dolphin at their default settings, basically at the 640 by 480 resolution or thereabouts, just to get the baseline. This one isn't doing as well. As you can see, we've got some issues in the emulation insofar as the sky not being on screen. The rest of the game seems to be playing okay, but we're running only about 50 to 70% of full speed here, even at the lowest resolution. So there's probably some settings that we need to tweak on here. We did do a couple of things before we started shooting, like changing to OpenGL and changing some of the direct 3D modes. Nothing was really getting us any better performance, so we kind of left it at the default DirectX 9 here. So if you have some tips on improving PS2 performance, maybe we'll revisit that in an upcoming video. But by and large, the PS2 emulation for this game at least isn't all that great, but of course it does vary quite a bit from one game to the other. So you'll probably need to tweak things a lot more here on the PS2 side. But overall, very nicely performing laptop here for its low price, especially with OBS. That really surprised me by how well OBS was functioning on here. So I think you can get a lot of utility out of this. Again, it's going to do better than an Intel machine at around the same price point. In some cases, it might do better than an Intel machine that costs significantly more, because its graphics capabilities are just so much better than what you'll get out of an Intel CPU without an external GPU. So if you're in the market for what we're going to do, I'm going to bridge over that so. We do this all the time. I say so a lot, so you can just go and it goes right in. So 3, 2, 1. So if you're in the market for something well under $500, you'll do well with one of these Ryzen 5 based machines. We've got a full playlist down below so you can see all of the ones that I have looked at. If you see any others out there that are coming in at that sub $500 price tag, let me know. We'll try to get more in and review them because, again, I've been really, really pleased with what we're seeing out of these things for the price point, and it's a great time to get one if you are in need of a primary laptop or maybe a secondary one to back up some of the other stuff that you're doing in your own particular workstation. So that's going to do it here for the look at the baseline performance out of these Ryzen chips. I'm sure we are missing things, so let me know what you'd like to see in the future down below in the comments section, and we'll no doubt be coming back to this topic again at some point very soon. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. All right, that is all I got, folks. The energy is depleted. So let me just rename this. So I usually do my videos, I try to get the day started, and I try to, if I have something ready to shoot, so like tomorrow I got something ready to shoot, so probably by 9:30 I'll be down here getting that done, and that'll be shot by lunchtime, and I'm good. Get my lunch, go check my mailbox, do all that stuff, and then if I've got something else to shoot, I'll do that on the other side of the lunch hour. And so I can usually do like 1 or 2, sometimes 3. And tomorrow we're going to do another live stream, and we'll probably be recording a video like we're doing tonight. So I may get a lot done. And I'm doing a lot because, as I mentioned at the outset, my wife is taken off for a couple days with her sisters. They're doing a 4-day or 5-day excursion. So I've got the kids for just me and the kids for 4 or 5 days. So I got to clear out the the work schedule to handle that. Let me just do a conclusion here, and Jake will make it all come together nicely. So yeah, so I think this was kind of a fun little excursion to kind of figure out what you can do with a $375 laptop. It's not going to do everything great, but it's going to surprise you, I think, as to what it can do. So I've been really, really happy with this thing. Tactile Power says Vulkan's an option. Yeah, Vulkan wasn't an option on the direct install, but maybe there's a plugin for Vulkan. So I am sure I'll get some suggestions with that. So we'll see where it goes. And Mark's Puzzles, he's been here the whole time. So good, thanks for sticking around. I watch his, you guys have to watch his streams. They're amazing because I've been to his house and watched him make his jigsaw puzzles, and I would cut my finger off. Like it's scary how close he gets to that thing. Eric Bazinga says he doesn't have Facebook, doesn't feel comfortable making an account because of their privacy scandals. So Eric, can you set up an Oculus without a Facebook account? I'm not sure. Well, I'll tell you what. Email me again, and I'll put something out on the Facebook group to see if anyone's interested in trying out that game, because that might be kind of fun to do on a stream at some point in the future. All right. Well, I'm going to shut this thing down. And I think I'm going to start shutting myself down in a minute too, but I would love to answer a question or two before we close out. This stream has only been about 2 hours, and sometimes I go like 2.5, 3, so this doesn't feel, it feels longer than usual, but I think I'm just tired tonight, so that might be part of it. I've just been cranking stuff out, because I'm just trying to get as much stuff up there on YouTube as possible, because of the next 5 days, it's going to be really hard to get anything done. So we'll see where that goes. And now what's interesting about Linux, Eric, my email is lon@lon.tv. What's interesting about Linux on these things is that on the Asus one we looked at, same chipset, Ryzen 5, Linux, boom, boots up, no problem. This one, not booting Linux. So it is not a good way to go. Anthony asks about mini PCs supporting 4K HDR. At the moment, if you were to get one with the right HDMI, this is the problem with this PC home theater now. If you get a mini PC that has HDMI 2.0 or 2.2 or whatever, and has the newer Intel chips, I think 8th generation up, those theoretically support HDR, but the software supports all over the place. And if you look at what Plex has done, they've just given up on the PC as far as having the PC do home theater stuff. They are, they've come up with a new PC app that's essentially a web wrapper, because I think the PC is just not going to be how home theater folks play media back. I hate to say it, but it's just not working right. What's nice about the NVIDIA Shield combined with Plex, you plug it in, you get your video on there, and it just streams it all. And it's been a great experience. So I think that's where it's going to go from there. Aaron Johnson, what Blu-ray players would be supported by Dolby Vision? I would check, I haven't looked at one in a while. There's a Sony that I reviewed, I think the UBP 800. Check my video list, you'll see it there. But that one was decent for the price. It wasn't that expensive. I reviewed a Panasonic that was expensive that also did Dolby Vision pretty well. And the Xbox One and the Xbox One S and the One X both now do Dolby Vision. And I'm going to do a follow-up to my video from a year or two ago on that, because I think it's going to be very, very useful. Feral Sparky says a big shift from home theater PCs to servers with front ends. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's going, your PC is the server, and the playback device is going to be a lower end device. And I'll tell you what, if we didn't have the Shield, I don't know what we would have right now, because that's the only game in town for doing the high-end home theater stuff. No question, because you can't do the pass-through audio on the. I'm going to test it again, but I don't think it's working on the Xbox because of some of the security stuff that they do. So I'll play around with that and see where it goes. All right, folks, I am going to call it a night, but I love the fact that so many of you watch for so long, and it's great to see people coming back again. So it's, we got regulars here in the stream, and it's been fun because I would do live streams from time to time, but not as regularly as I'm doing them now. But I really enjoy doing the streams, so we'll be keeping this going. And remember, we're here on YouTube, and then every one of these also is simulcasting to Amazon at the same time. So you can click over to Amazon and follow me there if you want. want a little change of scenery. And I want to thank a couple of people here who did some super chats tonight. We had Vinny T, we had Clean937 Samuel, and Destructo Disc. So I want to thank all three of you for your contributions. I want to thank everyone who watched and commented. It's great shooting these things in front of you all, because if I'm missing something, then I get feedback about something that wasn't clear, and I can prevent a bad video. That's why it's so helpful. So thank you all for that. And remember, tomorrow night, 9 p.m., we'll see how I do. Maybe I should take a nap before. 9 p.m. right here, because what we're going to do is take a look at the GeForce Now non-beta service and see how it all works. We're going to test it on the Mac. We will test it on, probably test it on Windows, I guess, right? Test it on Windows, on the Shield. Whatever I can run it on, we will run it on. And we'll see how it's all working. So, cool. All right, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in once again. And I appreciate you all very much. So, thank you for your attention this evening. I really do appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to go to bed now because I just am losing my mind. So we'll pick it up tomorrow. Bye-bye.